everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just wanted to give a quick disclaimer. We got some comments on our Monday video, our Hot Goss episode, that there was some funky noises happening with the microphone. We are so sorry about that. We didn't realize, we couldn't hear it on our end. We didn't come through until after we'd already published the episode. So our editor and I went ahead and looked at this episode, and you can still hear it a little bit. We recorded them at the same time, so the mic issues that we were having are going to also be on this episode. However, we did our best to edit it out, so it shouldn't be as prominent, but I did just want to give you guys a quick heads up that it's going to be on this video as well. But we fixed the problem, so moving forward, you won't be able to hear it. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And we are jumping into week 7 of our Tandem Fandom, Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn book club series. This week, it's going to be the ending, actually, of Empire of Storms, so get your tissues ready if you don't already have them. It's going to be chapters 60 through 75, and then Tower of Dawn chapters 49 through 57. So I'm going to, fair warning, there's a little bit of snip-snapping again in the beginning, but then the second half of this episode is all tears and Empire of Storms, baby. But before we jump into it, if you haven't already listened to our Hot Goss episode from this last week, go do so. We actually switched things up a little bit, and we talked about the It Ends With Us book versus the movie. There's a lot of drama surrounding the movie. We talk about that. It's funny. It's weird kind of being, it's still book related, obviously, but it's not fantasy books, which I mean, we don't exclusively read fantasy. We mostly read fantasy, but it's funny to be talking about something even remotely like pop culture to me.
It is.
So that was kind of like different, but very fun. So go listen to that if you haven't already.
It's a
doozy though. It's weird. It's heavy, but it's lighthearted.
Yeah.
At the same time.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. Let's keep going.
Wow, you're really selling this one.
I know. Here's what it is. This one makes me nervous. I'm just gonna shoot straight with you because I always ruin this. Melissa acts like we've already recorded it. We have not. But it's coming right after this one. But it makes me nervous to record it because there is so much controversy around just the book. Now the movie's come out, and that's why we want to cover it, is because it's been such a spotlight. Mm-hmm. But then I just get nervous to cover anything where a lot of people are like, I hate it, or I love it so much, stop hating it. I don't know. It just makes me nervous, but I think it'll be good. I think it'll be an interesting episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you haven't listened, go back.
Oh, yeah, go back. Next episode, it's going to be our last Tandem Fandom episode. It's going to be exclusively Tower of Dawn, chapters 58 through 68, plus the Fireheart bonus chapter. I don't know if it's a bonus chapter or not, but what is it actually called? What's the opposite of a prologue? Epilogue. Isn't it an epilogue? Whatever. Fireheart. Yeah. And we're also, since that's actually like a fairly short portion of the series, we're going to be also talking a lot about, honestly, like the vision of our podcast. We're going to be cueing you guys into some fun, exciting things that we have planned and in the pipeline. Plus, we are going to be giving the reins over to you guys as well. We have some options for some other book club books that we will be doing after Kingdom of Ash. So definitely listen to that one and vote.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Did you ever think that we would near the end of this? Like, we have one episode left of the tandem and then one book left. And I just feel like I never saw the end of this coming. Like, we've been doing this since January.
I don't really think it's been that long. But also,
I couldn't tell you. I haven't paid attention.
I don't remember when we started.
It's been fun to be here, and that's all I've focused on. I'm really the passenger princess to this podcast. I'm just like, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, sounds good.
However, it doesn't feel like it's been like, oh my gosh, this has been forever for me. And also, yes, we only technically have one book left, but that book is like 15 pages shy of 1,000 pages. So we still got a little bit left in this
Yeah.
series. Like, it's not like we're ending like tomorrow or anything. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't really, truthfully,
So we still don't
there's
see
no
an
light
end
at the
is
end of the tunnel.
Actual answer. Yeah. It's still dark.
But the best way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if you don't already follow us on social media, please do. It's at L.A.M.E Book Club Pod. Subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps our algorithm, or I don't know. Someone told me to say that. It helps a lot. But we like reading them too. So thank you for doing that. Thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate it. And with all of that, Ellie, are you ready to jump into this sad episode?
Yes. I don't know
All right.
if I'm so ready, but I'll put on a brave face.
I put mascara on today, and I now am regretting that, but we'll see. All right. Empire Storms, Chapter 60. Ansel and Aelin discuss future battle plans for their armies aboard one of her ships. Aedion wants Aelin to include him in more of her schemes, but she refuses.
Can we pause already?
Yes, absolutely. I was going to.
Ansel. As soon as she came back, I was like, yeah. Any further mention of her, I could care less. Delete.
Okay.
Did not care for the character.
Wow.
That's it. Yeah.
That was a hot take. All right. I feel like I'm just maybe indifferent. I agreed. I was like, yes, when she first came back, but then I wasn't like, why is she still here afterwards?
Yeah. I wish Aelin would have been like, deploy your armies this way, and then that's all we heard. Like, oh, she came to help. The end. The more
right.
I just didn't care for. Just leave it. We're just done.
All right. Well, there it is. Aelin asks Ansel to find the lost Kraken witches from... Wait, how did I say this? Yeah, Kraken. That's how I always say it. It's messing me up now with you saying things differently. The Kraken witches, whom she infers must be alive if the Iron Teeth witches continue to hunt them. She tells Ansel to share some of the wastes with them in return. Manon is angry that the wastes are being discussed without her input, but Aelin reveals the intel of Ansel's spies, that the Iron Teeth matrons agreed to help Erewhon in exchange for him breaking the curse and returning the wastes to them. The spies have also learned that Maeve, not Erewhon, is the one setting fires to EOA. Maeve hopes to discredit Aelin by framing her for the fires. I want to talk really quick about the Ansel, Aelin, Manon situation here. I truthfully, I think I would feel the exact same way Manon did in this. Like, I know that she's not, like, Ansel is currently in charge of the wastes, and like queen of the wastes, and like that's where she lives and that's her domain. But it is a bit of a gray area, because like that the witches were there first, and the only reason they're not there is because the land was cursed. So it's not like they decided to leave and then were like, oh well, now I want to come back and it's kind of mine. But like, I don't know, I see both sides, and I do think it's weird. Or I remember feeling a little bit like, ooh, brother, ooh, when when Aelin and Ansel were like discussing this right in front of her. Like, did you feel that way or not really?
Not really. Again, I didn't care for much of what Ansel had to say. I feel like, if you're just looking at the story for face value, I'm certain that the witches are going to end up getting their land back. So Ansel just needs to like, I don't even know what Ansel needs to do. I was just like, I'm sure we'll get to that point. So I was just kind of reading through. But the one point I did want to point out is I think this was the first we've heard of Maeve making an attack against Aelin, because they were suspecting that she was going to come do something. Was she going to bring her army? Was she going to do anything? And then they saw the fires, but it didn't connect to Maeve. And so this is the first time that we found out, oh, Maeve did that. And that's where I lost my mind. That's where all my focus went.
Yeah, well, like, we knew Maeve's armada was on their way. They just, no one knew why. And you're right. Like,
and now we know why.
Connect the dots. Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I mean, for me, because we were doing the tandem read, like, I already know Maeve is trash garbage at this point.
Yeah.
And also, we've known that for a long time, but we, like, learning in the ending of the last one that she's actually a queen of the Vogue, and even like worse than we thought she was. So this to me was like chump change compared to what we just learned, and we already knew that she was like out to get her. So, but it was kind of like, ah, crap. Like,
I have a little bit of a hot take. And I really feel this in my bones. Maeve is my favorite villain that SJM has ever written about.
I'm trying to think if probably one of mine too. I'm trying to think of all her other. Yeah, no, Maeve was definitely.
She was definitely such a solid villain. I loved it.
I agree.
I loved it.
That wasn't a hot. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. Absolutely agree. She was so easy to hate.
Yeah. Well, I know people feel some kind of way about like Amarantha or King
we just
of
get
Hybern
so much more of Maeve and so much more development. Like
yeah,
Amarantha
Maeve's character is deep. Yeah. Amarantha's like, oh, we hate her. Obviously, Maeve is like kind of, oh, is she?
You're like wishy-washy in the beginning, and then the layers are slowly peeled back and uncovered, and you're like, oh yeah, this chick's
and
crazy.
I feel like Amarantha is like I'm bad, here it all is, and Maeve just keeps unfolding with like she couldn't be more evil.
Exactly.
She can.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Exactly. Later, Rowan and Aelin plan more battle strategies, and Aelin asked him to do something for her. And I love that we were just like, we never know what it is. Just, okay. Again, now we as a reader, again, are still
we're kept
included.
In the dark. Yeah.
Elite and Lorcan almost have a conversation about their relationship, but they're interrupted when many crew members rush to the deck and see Maeve's armada appearing on the horizon. Maeve sends a messenger to tell Aelin that she must surrender by the next dawn. Aelin and Adian and Rowan try to come up with a plan to defeat Maeve, but no one can think of any feasible idea. Aelin's hopelessness breaks Rowan's heart. When she falls asleep, he flies in his hawk form to the boat of his cousin. He asks Enda not to attack with Maeve, then continues to the boats of all of his other cousins, asking them for the same thing. That was so sweet to me. I'm like,
how sweet of him.
I know, but like, he's doing what he can, and it's like you can see the desperation was palpable in the conversations that he had with. I mean, we only really get the one conversation, and then we just know that he has that with the rest of them. Mm-hmm. But my goodness, it's the guy is doing everything he can for the woman he loves, and that gets me. That's why I read. That's what I love. It is such a green flag.
Love to see it.
Tower of Dawn. So the spider tells Nesrin, this is where we left off on the cliffhanger of learning that Maeve is actually Queen of the Vogue. And the spider tells Nesrin about Maeve, that she came from the same world as the Vogue kings. The three kings ruled before she appeared with a new and a dark power. The kings desired her, but she agreed to marry the eldest and the strongest one, Orcus. Yeah. Maeve learned how to enter other worlds and stepped into this one. The Karen Kui came with her to this spot on the mountains. She told the spiders to guard the gate as she did not want to return. Orcus and his brothers discovered what she did and followed her there, but they had learned how to control the gates. Maeve found Mab and Mora and disguised herself as Fae and used her powers to make them believe that she had an elder sister, or they had an elder sister. Then the king, she then made all the Fae believe that she had always existed and always ruled. The kings fought Maeve, never knowing who she really was. But Maeve stole the keys and sent the two kings back. Then Brannon stole them before she could send Erewhon back. Brannon didn't realize who she was, but knew that she feared fire. The Karen Kui revealed that all Valg fear fire. That's like a tongue twister. Valg fear fire.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Valg fear
fire.
Falcon returns as a spider and enters, tricking the other spider into leaving. Before we move on, I really want to touch on this. Like, the Vogue, they're kings. Like, supposedly, Orcus is like the most powerful of them all, and yada yada. They have a new and a dark power. Blah. You're telling me that they couldn't figure out she disguised herself? Like, to me,
well, according to the book, the Vogue queens are more powerful than the kings. And so if her power outranks theirs, I believe it.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like, to me, it's not like what she did was this, like, elaborate labyrinth of tricks and, like, all the... Like, she just changed her form. Like, you're telling me that... Okay, I'm not saying she isn't powerful, but they're still kings. So, like, they're still significantly more powerful than all other Vogue. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't just sense that she was similar in a way. You know what I mean? Like, at her core, she's still Vogue, even if she changes her appearance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it just felt, to me,
Sarah
that felt like
it.
a little bit of like a loophole.
Chewing on it, it's fine. Well, yeah. I mean, Peepa episode in the future, I actually haven't even talked to you about this. I do want to do another hot goss where we talk about more of the plot holes, because I have found quite a few more untied endings and untied storylines, and I think that'd be great. So add this to one of them.
Chalking it up. I will not remember, so I'm going to need you to do that.
I got it.
Back to Tower of Dawn. They escape and the spiders chase them. Falcon buys them some time and tells Nezran that he has a niece but doesn't know who she is. He tells her to find her if she can and that all he owns is hers. His niece is Lysandra, because of course it is. And
okay, wait. I didn't like this.
I loved this.
Because I loved it, but I didn't love it. I loved it because it gave us the hope for a reunion, and we're like, oh my gosh! But I didn't like it because there are only 2 shapeshifters in the entire storyline, in the whole storyline, and they're related, of course. I think throw in a couple other shapeshifters. I think, how about that? I believe it.
Maybe. I believe it. I just loved it. I just loved how she somehow brought back this character that I think everyone would honestly have forgotten about.
Yeah.
Had he not honestly, like, had she not brought him back. Like, I like that we are introduced to this guy as a backstory, and he seems like such a side character. And I mean, he is still a side character, but now we know that he's connected to one of the main characters.
Yeah.
What? I love it. I love how she brings things back and circles things around. And no, truthfully, I don't think anyone will ever be able to top her in that respect. Like, Sarah is the queen of Easter eggs. And
she really is. And I know people are like, oh, well, she's not a great writer. Actually,
she is, actually.
I'd argue that she is. But like the Easter eggs, I really have never read, and maybe I'm just unlearned, but I really haven't read another series.
Literary analysis, everyone. Unlearned.
That is a word. Do you know that?
Unlearned?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the joke has turned on me. I did not know that was a word.
Oh, how the turntables have.
Sure.
So, no, but what was I saying?
About her being a bad writer, but she's actually good with Easter eggs, and how you haven't read enough or something.
Yeah, I haven't read enough, maybe, and maybe there are other authors out there that plant so many other Easter eggs that tie into their books. But man, she does it well. Like we can't go into all this.
Well, I mean, even if there are other authors that do it well, I think there's not a gold medal for authors. Like, everyone, it's so subjective, and everyone is
New
going
York
to have
Times at the New York bestsellers list.
Well, I'm saying more. There's going to be sometimes a lot of people like one person, or like, oh, like Sarah's very popular. I saw something. She sold 3.8 million book copies last year, and that was like 2 million more than second place. Out of like she is killing
you cannot. Statistically and backed with data, you cannot deny that she is, if not the leading author right now, one of the leading
literally
authors
in sales.
Because listen to how many people have been like, oh my gosh, she has gotten me back into reading. That's everybody's story right now. Every girl that's like, oh, I'm reading again. It's because of A Court of Thorns and Roses.
But all that to be said, like, by looking at the numbers, she is clearly the most popular author of last year. But there are still plenty of people that would argue and say that she's not good and that they don't like her writing. So that's where I'm getting at. Like, reading is just subjective. Like, you could be, quote unquote, the best author ever, and not everyone's gonna like your stuff, and that's fine. No one has to. But I think even if there are other authors that maybe do Easter eggs better than her, you still can't say that she's not good at doing it. Because she is.
It actually it really does make me personally angry, and people are like, she's such a garbage writer, and I'm like, first of all, sir, how dare you? Yeah, I have a question. How dare you?
And I took that personally.
I do every time. All right, let's keep going.
All right, and then Borte appears on her Rook. Kadara flies in, as does Yrene and many other Rook riders. Borte has brought an army of Rooks, and they use flaming arrows to set Dagul on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dorian wakes Manon and brings her to Aelin and the Witch Mirror. He tells them that since the power of the mirror is knowledge and reasons, that the mirror might know how to use the lock and bind the word keys. Manon notes, I know, Dorian. Look at Dorian
so
using,
helpful. So much more helpful than Chaol.
as my grandpapa would say, that's using your head for something other than a hat rack, Dorian. Good job.
Oh.
I love Denny. He says stuff like that all the time.
That's awesome.
Manon notes that it is a traveling mirror, so they can step into the mirror and learn how to wield the lock. Aelin is hesitant, but eventually agrees. She and Manon hold hands and step into the mirror. Rowan returns to Aelin's ship as chaos reigns. Adian and the others are concerned that Aelin and Manon have entered the mirror. Fenris and Gabriel are also worried because their blood oaths will force them to fight for Maeve. They remember that when they fought for Rowan at Mistward, Maeve brought them home and let Cairn whip Lorcan horribly for days. Now, if they fight for Aelin, they will be punished, but Lorcan agrees to fight as long as Elite is kept somewhere safe. And I just want to point out, I feel like this is so underrated, the fact that they just use him as an example of saying, like, they're so scared of what Maeve will do to them if they fight for her because they saw what she did to Lorcan. And Lorcan, the one who ensued said torture, is the first one to say, I'll fight for you as long as she's safe. Like, my goodness,
so
if that...
Poetic.
The love of the grumpiness and the sunshine. This grumpy sunshine trope that she wrote between the two of them is my most favorite ever.
I was going to ask, is that your favorite trope ever?
It's not
in
my
general?
favorite. I like the trope, but it generally isn't my favorite because I feel like people overdo it with the grumpy or the sunshine. Plug for our Powerless episode. If you've read the book, the novella, and you haven't, and you want to listen to that, go listen to that, Holocaust. But like, I just feel like I have a really hard time with it because they make one person way too grumpy or the other person way too sunshine or the other, like both. And Sarah, chef's kiss, killed it with this one because obviously Lorcan's grumpy and obviously Elid's super optimistic, but like it's in such a normal way. Like this is how grumpy sunshine would work in real life if it were to ever happen. And that's why it's so good to read because it's like I could be me. That exactly. You want to be the protagonist in the book, and I felt like I could get a Lorcan. Like I could get one of these people.
I could be a lead. She's pretty normal. I could be a lead. We could both
I'm
be
so
a lead.
Unremarkable, and so is a lead in considering the group that she's surrounding. Like, if I'm gonna relate to anyone the most, it's gonna be a lead. Like, let's be real.
Also on the note that she's just human. You want to know what like really stings my veins? If we're going to relate to anybody in these books, you have the option of two characters, count them two, either a lead or Chaol, because they're just humans.
But it has to be a lead because I'm not a boy, so I can't quite relate. And honestly, I was talking. I think I mentioned him on a previous podcast. I don't know, but we have a friend Sam, and he has read all these books now because of the podcast. Thank you, Sam. But I was talking with him actually this last week because he thinks that Chaol is like super relatable, and I'm like, no, he's not. Yeah. Like he's just a boy, but he's like, no, you don't get it. And I'm like, you're right, I don't get it. Like this sucks. Like, I
challenge you, Sam, and anyone else who's on Chaol's side with this. Is it that relatable being that useless? Because I have found that I can add a little bit to any situation where I feel like Chaol goes in and makes things drastically worse and then like complains and is like, it's all my fault.
He's not saying he liked him. He's just saying he gets it. And like, whereas I'm constantly mind blown that I'm like, this is still happening. Like, no, that's where he doesn't like Chaol, but he's like, I don't hate him as much as you because I think I can relate.
I just don't. I just can't. But I know where you're thinking if you were listening to me say, oh, we could be one of two characters. What about Nesrin? She's just human. No, because Nesrin has some very redeeming qualities with the bow and arrow that I do not think any of us listeners can replicate.
Absolutely not.
So
Yeah.
it's down to a lead, and it is down to Chaol. And I refuse to side with Chaol, so I am a lead.
You know what I just realized too, and both of them have some kind of deformity, and if that just doesn't speak to us as humans, I don't know what would, truthfully.
Yeah.
But you get mangled ankle or paralyzed back. That's the only options. Pick one. Like,
I've already got the bad ankle, so I once again,
you so do.
Elite's my girl.
All right, well, they all agree as well, and they all plan to go to battle without Aelin. When Maeve's messenger arrives, Rowan tells him that Aelin cannot surrender because she is not there. So Maeve's armada begins their attack. Back to Tower of Dawn. Chaol's room has been trashed, and the skulls. My goodness, the scrolls and books have been taken.
It's kind of like
what
a
is my
tough
problem?
talking day. I feel like maybe we just need like a second in silence and just read it. Ready?
A second of silence.
One.
All right. Let's see if that worked. Yrene goes to see Hafiza and tells her about the scrolls. Oh, wait, did I say that the books and scrolls were taken from Chaol's room?
Yeah,
because they
you
were. Did. Okay, good. Okay.
Well, when you said Chaol's room has been trashed, I was going to go, whoa.
And then I say, you know, like when you jump to conclusions and yeah, and then they say something sad and you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like after. You should have done that. She tells Hafiza about the scrolls, the ruins, and that she believes the healers were planted in Antika to fight against the Volg. Hafiza was once told that Antika belonged to the Fae long ago. They entombed their dead as they didn't want anyone taking the bodies. Yrene is then bathing in the tomb of the Torre, and bells are hanging all over. Each healer places a bell up there. Their own bell. I wrote it differently. The moment of silence did nothing.
No, actually, I felt I was going to make a comment like that moment of silence really helped because those last three, no mistakes, no notes.
That's so true. Well, anyway, she's looking at the bells and she finds a bell from Jaffa Towers, one of her distant relatives. Back to Empire of Storms. In the Witchmere.
Wait. How'd you feel about this whole scene?
Truthfully, it didn't really do anything for me.
Didn't for me either. It didn't.
It's just like, it was sweet. Like,
I think
thought
it was supposed to be a point of like tears. It felt like she was really laying on the emotions there. And I was just like, I don't know if I care. Ooh.
I'm trying to remember.
Am I the problem?
I was trying to remember like the first time reading this, how I felt. And I can't remember if I was trying really hard to see like, or to take what Sarah was wanting us to from this. And I couldn't decide if, like you said, it was supposed to just be like a really like,
yeah.
I think it was more just to give her something because she has no family left. So it was kind of just to give her like, not closure, but some kind of like connection or something. Yeah. But I also couldn't tell if it was supposed to be like some kind of confirmation that everything she's been thinking is correct. I feel like I'm leaning more towards just the family and like giving her something to hold on to thing. And like, she's really supposed to, because I think she also was kind of fighting with if she was supposed to help and she doesn't want to, and like, she knows she wants to help, but she doesn't really want to leave. And I don't know. I think it was supposed to tie into all of that, but it kind of missed it for me. But I also just was not super connected to the storyline at all. So I think that had part of it, like was a big part of it.
Also, I will say the way they described those baths in the tombs,
that sounds legit.
I want to take a bath.
Me too. It gives me.
Oh, that sounds.
I don't
nice.
know. Probably this will only connect with about 3% of our listeners, but I grew up in Northern California, and in 4th grade, we took a trip to like in these caves to look at stalactites and stalagmites, and that's exactly what I was picturing. I was picturing like an inner cavern.
Me too.
But all at the same time, like a sulfur natural hot spring. My goodness. I would pay top dollar. It would smell like eggs. It absolutely would. But
it would smell like eggs. Yeah.
I've been in it would not be good. Iceland, the sulfur pools in Iceland smell disgusting.
They didn't smell good? Really?
No. Well, the ones I went to.
When people describe like, a sulfur a sulfur pool. It's just so nice, so relaxing, so naturally
No,
hot. And they never explain smells like eggs. And I think that should be one of the leading descriptions, because that would tell me do not go.
I think there should be a warning, like an advertisement on the website when you're booking tickets, truthfully.
But maybe
it
they
feels
just assume that you should know that sulfur doesn't smell good.
I don't know. Maybe we should.
Sure.
Again, am I
that
the
common?
problem?
Is it me?
Well, also though, I will say in Iceland, they use sulfur water. Like it's like there's like an abundance of it. And I don't know if this is super, super common, but I'm assuming so, considering that it was used in our Airbnb. But like the sulfur water was also like used in showers. Like the showers smell like eggs.
No, shut up, really?
Yeah. And I think you just get used to it after a while, but I was there for 9 days and I never got used to it.
Used to that? Well, maybe I could. I don't know. I lived in the country by cows, and I got used to that smell. That was fine.
Well, and I think if you're born there and you just don't know any different, it's like, this is what water smells like. But I'm like, actually, water's supposed to smell like nothing. This is what water
smells like. It's stinky. Actually, I think we have a couple listeners that are in Iceland, that are from Iceland. So let me know. Does your water stink?
Do you think your water stinks? And if so, if you don't, I'm not trying to come off as a stereotypical American, and I apologize, but my shower doesn't smell like hard-boiled eggs, and so I was
that we know of. What if
shocked and
we
amazed.
Are just used to our water, and
that's so
people
true.
from Iceland come here and they're like, your water stinks. Because
that's
I'll tell you
true.
what, I was just in Florida, and that water tastes bad. And
like the drinking water or the
drinking
ocean
water.
Okay, I was
but
like, because obviously the ocean tastes bad.
Anywhere that's not California and where I currently live, I feel like the water tastes bad to me.
Specifically Northern California. No.
Yeah.
You have to clarify Northern California, because Southern California water tastes like trash.
Tastes bad. And I think it's just varies state to state, but you get used to it because it's just the only water you have. But I was unimpressed with Florida's water. Yeah. And I did not see an alligator. So double whammy.
You wanted to see an alligator?
So bad. I want to see one.
You could have literally
bad.
I guarantee
Swamp
you there's
puppy.
about I guarantee you there's about 20 at any given time on any of the like water stagnant pools on the side of the freeway.
No, I was at a resort, and
that's why.
We did some golfing, and there was like stagnant water all over the place. It was natural. No gators. And then we did a little hike, and there was stagnant water. No gators. I didn't see one gator.
You went in the water and there was none?
No, but they had like, I'll show you a picture. They had this long bridge that did go over all this like shallow water with the weeds, like a marsh.
Oh, okay.
No gator. Lots of crabs. Very impressed with Florida's crabs. No gators.
No soup. Or no cape. But I'm also thinking Seinfeld, if you know the no soup. Soup Nazi. Yeah. All right. In the mirror, Aelin and Manon have ghostly bodies. Also, side note, if you've read Crescent City, great. If you haven't, skip ahead 2 seconds. This gave me hologram. Not the first time I was reading it, because I hadn't read Crescent City at first, but now going back through it, I'm like, eh. Or Danny Phantom. Like,
Danny Phantom.
Yo, Danny Phantom, he was just 14 when his parents built a very strange machine. I'm telling you, I hate my brain. I can remember that theme song, but I couldn't tell you. Like, I'll forget some tasks at work that I'm supposed to do that day, and I'll have to stay up late doing them. And that's just how I operate, and it sucks.
And then while you do them, you're singing
Danny Phantom.
Danny Phantom.
He's a phantom.
That's cool.
Anyways, they watch as a light approaches them. Suddenly, they witness a memory of Elena sealing Erewhon in a sarcophagus using the Eye of Elena, which was the lock in and of itself. This enrages the gods because they planned for the lock to bind the word keys and open a word gate to return them to their original realm with the promise of taking Erewhon with them. However, with Elena's action, she wastes the lock, which can only be used once. Mala still exists in her god form, but she doesn't remember Elena. The gods tell Elena that as her punishment, someone from her line, the line of Brannon, must forge a new lock using all of their power and will die in the process. Elena must guide that person to the slaughter, helping them through the process without telling the person that they will die. Elena lies to Gavin about the truth and simply says that she must help the next person forge the lock. In the next memory, Nehemia, the master of the word marks, visits Elena in the temple that contains the mirror. Elena tells Nehemia that she is not the one who will die. Instead, either Dorian or Aelin will, as both of them are from Brandon's line. Elena guides Nehemia to go to Adelin to help the resistance, but tells her that she will die in the process of helping that way. And that ruined me because Nehemia knew what she was doing. She knew she was going to die the whole time. And she still was just trying to help Ilwe and help Selena / Aelin, and she actually knew the whole time. And it just, all these things, I'm like, my goodness. This girl was a true gem.
Beautiful reminder. But I think we already knew that Nehemia knew that she was going to die based on that one like chapter in whichever book that she did die in. I think Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, one of the early ones. But she has,
oh, you're right.
Like, do you remember Elena was like saying like, you need to push her and you need to, like, she was like, I'll sacrifice my life or something like that. But it was very vague. You didn't know who was talking. But then when Nehemia died, you realized, oh, she literally pushed Aelin to step into her queen's shoes and realize I need to help fight. I need to take a stand.
Yes, but we didn't know that she knew before even leaving Eelway. I don't think.
I don't know.
Regardless, it still was like, once again, bringing her. And again, Sarah brought her back at the right time because I had completely forgotten about her at this point, and still manages to sucker punch you in the gut with it.
I need you to help me because I'm just going to shoot straight once again, shooting straight all day long. But I'm really confused by this. Like, I was confused reading it. I am confused now. So the lock was given to Elena to
so
open,
the eye of like her
help.
The eye of Elena was the lock, and she had it, and the gods were planning on using that to send themselves back to their home, and they had agreed to take Erewhon with them. But Elena decided to do her own thing and just seal him in the sarcophagus using the lock, which made the gods angry, and now the lock was like a one-time deal.
Wait, why did she only seal them when she could have just... It's the same outcome for Elena, except one, the gods are happy, and one, they are not.
That is an excellent question.
At the moment... I don't feel like it's a plot hole. I feel like I don't get it. Like, if someone else gets it, explain it.
No, I mean, when you say it like that, you're right. She could have... I don't know if she knew what the gods were planning on doing with it, though. I don't know. Like, I don't know if she knew that was an option.
Okay. And Brandon was Elena's father?
Correct.
Okay, and Mala was
her mom.
Is her mom. And Mala, you said, still exists in her god form, but doesn't remember Elena.
Because Mala gave up her mortal life to forge the lock.
Oh.
Mala turned the Eye of Elena into the lock, and she died in the process.
And this was, of course, because they were battling Erewhon in the first place. Like, they needed a way to win. And this was by doing the lock and sending them all back or trapping them or whatever. Okay, understood. Yes. Okay, now moving on. The gods tell Elena that her... No, not that far along. Elena that her punishment is that someone from Brandon's line needs to use their
essentially do what her mom
forge...
did. Someone from her line
gets one use. So now, because it needs a second use, we need another sacrifice.
Yes, because we need another lock, and in order to get another lock, someone else has to forge all of their power, imbue it essentially into something, and die in the process.
But why Brandon's bloodline? Why not Mala's if Mala was the one who did the sacrifice?
I'm probably just because she was it's going to be the same bloodline.
I guess. But I just feel like weird to not acknowledge that one who did the sacrifice and instead acknowledging the...
Well, it's going to be from Mala's line as well if from Brandon's. Probably just because Brandon was king and a man.
Just like how I don't know. Say, announcing for the first time ever...
Mr. and Mrs. and the
okay.
Probably like
okay, I got it. I think all of these little nuances confuse the garbage out of me by the end because I'm like, I don't understand why this needs to happen. Like, I get it for the plot, but I don't understand technically why. So I think we've only hit one plot hole, which is why did she trap them rather than just send them back when both outcomes would have been the same for her?
Yeah, well, I don't know even. Like you said, I don't necessarily know if it's a plot hole or not, or
if
because I agree with you. The very first time I read this, I was confused.
Yeah.
But I was like, trust the process. And I felt like as I kept reading, eventually things slid in place for me. But this scene, I remember it was like so much information all at once. I remember being a little bit confused.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now we can move. Thanks, guys.
Yep, but you're very welcome. Chaol is in a lot of pain. His wound is hurting and the darkness is creeping back. Yrene is determined to heal him fully and end it now. Chaol sees his memories. Chaol sees his memories, all that he and Aelin went through, and he realizes that he finally understands her and the decisions that she made. And everyone said amen. My goodness. Not only that, Ellie, I laughed so hard. I had a realization putting this outline together. Chaol didn't understand it until he had to mansplain to himself everything that happened in order for him, and the irony of that is just palpable. Truly. Truly, it is so ironic. And it made me love the whole situation even more, honestly.
Yeah. You just kind of almost have to just enjoy Chaol. It's one of those what are you going to do? So you just have to laugh.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yrene finds him in the darkness and pulls him out of it. Yrene and Chaol tell each other that they love each other. And honestly, I'm going to say a hot take, because I know we've talked about how going through this book a second time, we actually really appreciate it more than the first, and I still stand by that. But this is a really long book, and to me, though, it managed to make both romances between Sartak and Nezran and Yrene and Chaol feel really rushed and insta-lovey somehow.
Yes.
I feel like they were spent so long being enemies, and then all of a sudden it was like, I guess he's not that bad. I love you. It really did kind of feel rushed, and I stand by that after reading it, going through it a second time.
But I'm going to challenge myself with what wouldn't feel rushed, I guess. Because I feel like in every book, I'm like, oh, what? And now they're in love? But it's how do I expect for someone to fall in love? Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of flirting. What,
it doesn't feel rushed?
What?
Perfection, Elite and Lorcan, didn't feel rushed at all.
So
felt
true.
Very organic and gradual.
They had a moment. And also Aelin and Rowan, not rushed. If anything, dragged a little.
Agreed.
But I think it's the friendship. The middle ground of friendship, where it's not acquaintances to lovers. It's you're friends for a bit. Well,
Aelin and Rowan had more of the friendship. I wouldn't say Elide and Lorcan necessarily. I mean, kind of. They do. I mean, literally, they agree that they're friends at one point. But there was an undertone of attraction the whole time on both sides, because we get their point of views, and we kind of but they both just don't understand it, and they just don't really act on it. There is, you're right, friendship for sure with Aelin and Rowan. They were buddies for a long time, quote unquote. I don't know. Honestly, though, just everything about the way she wrote Lorcan and Elide is utter perfection to me. The timing of everything, the way they started, how they slowly reveal pieces of their past and how they feel and identities and all that stuff. And my goodness.
That's tricky, though, because you really could argue the same thing for Chaol and Yrene, because she talked about her mother. I mean, every point that you brought up, though, they walked through those, but it feels more rushed.
The timing of it was different, though, is what I'm saying. It just was so, I mean, everyone talks about that stuff. It was how it got brought up, the specific instances she wrote those conversations in, and all that stuff.
Lorcan wasn't outright mean to a lead, where he was like, I don't like you. I don't want any part of this. He was just he didn't.
He was
care.
Mad at the world. He didn't really. He wasn't mad at her specifically.
And then he kind of melted his heart a little bit for her. Where Chaol was straight up mean to Yrene, and then was like, "Oh, I'm healed now, and now I love you." And it's do you love her, or do you love the thought of her?
Exactly, and that is truly the biggest question, isn't it? I'm just kidding. All right, back to Empire Storms. While everything is happening with the Mitch Weir, good Lord, we need another moment of silence.
What even were you trying to say?
Witch mirror. I said Mitch Weir.
Okay.
All right. With the Witch mirror and Aelin and Manon, Adian and the others fight in the battle against Maeve. Lysandra destroys some of Maeve's ships in her sea dragon form. In the midst of the battle, all of the Whitethorn ships, those with members of Rowan's family, lower Maeve's flag and fly the Whitehorn flag. Thorn. Good Lord. I always say Whitehorn
No,
and
that
I don't
one's
know
why.
why.
Everybody says Whitehorn. Everybody. And
White
you might be
thorn.
listening to this for the first time and realize that it actually is Whitethorn. It's not
I know.
Whitehorn. And nobody knows that just by looking at the word.
I mean, there is a T. It says Thorn. I just, my
it's
eyes decide to
invisible when we
look
read
over it. Yeah, it is
My
invisible.
eyes deceive me.
My pseudo dyslexia kicks in on that word every single time. They then turn back and attack Maeve's ships. Rowan feels an immense sense of gratitude for the actions of his cousins, all of whom he told about Aelin and her cause, emphasizing his love for her. He is honored to see them commit treason and resist Maeve. I, too, was honored. However, Lorcan is
like
worried.
The cutest way to literally read such a heavy sentence. He's honored to see them commit treason.
However, Lorcan is worried about the White Thorn line, as he knows the cruelty of Maeve's retaliation. Gavriel nudges Lorcan to look out at the shore, and he sees that Elide is in danger. On the shore, Elide sees someone approaching her, and that someone is not Vernon.
Oh.
This one chapter breaks up the ending, and then we're back to Empire Storms. The Rukanen Council of Clans meet. Nezran explains about the Valg and the demons. Sartak asks them to fly with him as he fights against Erewhon, and they all agree. Nezran tells Falcon about Lysandra and that she is his niece, and asks him to come north with them. Chaol has sent a message asking them to return to the palace immediately. All right, guys. Here it is. Get those tissues ready. We're riding out the ending of Empire of Storms here.
I can't believe it's already over. This is my second most favorite book in the entire Throne of Glass series.
It's for me too.
Almost over. All right.
Aelin's heart hurts to see Nehemia alive in the memories, and to know that she sacrificed herself to free Aelin from her assassin career and motivate her to become the queen that the gods were promised. Aelin then sees the memories of Brandon at Elena's funeral, as Elena chose to live a mortal lifespan with her husband, Gavin. The memory reveals that Brandon took the word keys and put one in the amulet of Orinth, one in Elena's crown, and the last one in the temple of Mala Firebringer. Suddenly, Elena herself appears and apologizes to Aelin, explaining that she did not tell Aelin about these matters because Aelin was already struggling with her past as an assassin and with Nehemia's death. Elena, I didn't tell you because of this. It's like, no, Elena, you didn't tell her because you weren't allowed to. My goodness, stop making... The more Elena was brought up in the story, the less I liked her, if I'm being completely honest. She just kept getting worse.
I liked that Aelin was very cutthroat with her thoughts about Elena. She was like, you're being ridiculous. Get out of my room. And I'm like, I think I wouldn't speak to an entity that seemed pretty angelic to me. Yeah.
I guess she's not a god, but a ghosty.
Yeah, a little ghosty.
Elena did not know that the world would suffer when Erewhon reappeared. Interesting. That is quite shocking to myself. How did she not know? The guy gets free. He's evil. What did she think was going to happen? He was destroying the world before she sealed him. Did he think he was not going to resume plans? Whatever. Aelin asks about the night of her escape from Terrasen and about her time in the river. Elena, once again, knows things that she didn't say. Elena is turning into Chaol somehow, some way. Differently, but the same.
Honestly, Elena, I don't disagree. She has proven to be fairly unhelpful. She can't do anything on her own because her ghosty hands just float right through. And it's just, she kind of gives
and she doesn't tell anyone
answers, half riddles. I don't
appreciate. And doesn't tell them anything until they ask or until the moment has passed when they could have used the information like a year ago.
Yeah. Instead of like giving the gods what they wanted, getting rid of Erewhon, puts them all in a temporary hold. Erewhon gets free. Gasp. She's shocked that he's bad guy. And then on top of that, like, this isn't, I mean, whatever, for love, I guess, do it for the plot, but turns herself mortal to be with
that
guy?
Honestly was the part I most understood, truthfully.
Oh, I could never.
Anyways. Well, Elena confesses that Aelin did die in the river from the cold, but Elena had made a deal with the gods. In exchange for Aelin's return to life, Elena sacrificed her own soul, and as a result, when she dies, she will not reunite with her husband and children. Instead, she will fade into nothing. Which, at this point, feels like something she should deserve. And I'm just going to say that. I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but she's made too many mistakes. Like,
she's also had quite a few years as a ghost. I feel like she's had her time.
Yeah, but not with her
know,
husband and kids. She's just been in limbo with the gods.
Oh, you right. You right.
Elena promises Aelin that she will be with her until the end, and then kisses her on the forehead and disappears. Aelin and Manon then reappear on the beach to find Maeve with a lead and a lead with a knife at her throat. Aedion keeps fighting and killing, but tells Lysandra to flee if it looks like they will lose the battle. Dorian and Rowan use their magic to destroy Maeve's troops. Suddenly, Abraxos appears in the sky with the rest of Manon's 13 behind him. My guy came through at the right time. We got so excited when they were coming back.
I love it.
Rowan prevents their troops from shooting down the 13, and the 13 then leap into action. Dorian senses Aelin and Lorcan on the beach alongside Maeve. Rowan sees that Maeve's ship is gone and realizes that the battle was just a distraction for Maeve to get to Aelin. Maeve and Aelin trade verbal barbs, and it's revealed that Lorcan summoned Maeve when he saw Ansel's armada. He was worried that it was Erewhon's army and wanted to protect a lead. Aelin tells Lorcan that she knew that he had summoned Maeve the moment he did it, and she had planned for it. Maeve forces Lorcan to hold a lead captive while she tells Aelin about all of her plans. She never wanted Aelin to get the word keys and use the lock, as she wants to wield both keys and Aelin. She knew that Rowan was Aelin's mate, so she used her magic to trick him into thinking that Lyria was his mate before sending her troops to kill her, in hopes of breaking Rowan and making him swear the blood oath to her. What?
I screamed.
I scrumped reading this too.
This was the plot twist of the year. I think about this every day.
I think about this all the time.
So much. This
was my Roman Empire.
She looked me in the face, Sarah did. She squeezed my little cheeks and she slapped me. That's what she did with this little chapter. I could not believe what my eyes beheld on the page.
Sarah, Janet did all of us a new one. Just ripped into us with this one. She sure did.
This. I was screaming. I seriously, I think I put the book down, did one of those silent screams, lifted back up, texted everyone who's ever read this, put the book back down. I was not in my right mind. I blacked out a little bit.
I don't remember reading this because I, like you said, truly my brain trauma blocked this from me because of what this did to me.
It's like I'm reading this for the first time. I don't remember.
I didn't even know this happened. Now Maeve releases Gabriel from his blood oath to shame him, but she forces Fenris to keep serving her. She keeps getting worse, like you said, the best villain. She keeps getting worse. She demands that Aelin come with her, and if Aelin refuses, she will take both Aelin and Elide. She brings forth Cairn as an additional threat. Maeve demands that Lorcan and Fenris stand down and do nothing. Aelin agrees to go with Maeve because she really has no other option. She tells Elide to relay her love and gratitude to Rowan because I don't know about any of you guys if you remember this. He wasn't there. I had forgotten he was not there this whole time. And I'm like, she doesn't even get to say goodbye to him. This sucks. Maeve then instructs Cairn to whip Aelin, after which she will put Aelin in an iron box and an iron mask. Now she forces Aelin to kneel in the sand, take off her shirt, and tells Cairn to make Aelin count each whipping, or they will start over.
Also, but Aelin, who has the time? I feel like this is kind of a we gotta go. There's people fighting. There's a lot going on in the waters, the beach, everything, and to take the time to sit there and be like, count your whippings.
She's not pressed for time. She's the threat.
Is she winning though? Because if she's not winning, she is pressed for time.
But even
this is an active war zone.
She's a Vol Queen. If she's not winning, she can do something else. She has more power than any of them.
I don't know.
And she can command. I don't know. I agree with what you're saying.
There was an urgency to this scene. So the fact that she was like, take her shirt off here. I'd be like, okay, let's go back to Dornell. Then we begin the whippings or whatever. So this was surprising to me that she took the time to do this on the beach.
I don't know. It wasn't super surprising to me. Because to me, there wasn't a time restraint on that. It was more just the peeling back of her evilness. She just was really trying to prove a point right here.
Oh, she really was. This is where she did.
quite literally staking her flag in the sand because they're on a beach. Like, this is my moment, and she really thanks. Aelin refuses to count at all, letting Karen. So Maeve lets Karen whip her until her back is raw and bloody. Another soldier tells Maeve that she should leave before Rowan arrives. And
that's what I'm saying.
That's the truest statement that has ever been said. Manon knocks Elite unconscious and carries her away to safety as the soldiers put the mask on Aelin. Okay, really quick, when this first happened, I was like, shut up. Has Manon been playing them this whole time? But
I already thought that too.
Thank you.
You're literary analysts right here. We immediately...
No, that's not me being a literary analyst. That's me being so skeptical of everyone always. That is...
I guess that too, but I'm just like... Why did she not? Manon's double spy. She's double-sided.
But then when we realized she just was taking her to safety, I was like,
she just needed a lead to calm down. Yeah.
I out loud apologized to Manon. I was like, I'm so sorry. I doubted you. I should have
doubted
known.
you for a second. Yeah.
Manon leaves with a lead, trying to look calm so that Maeve will not realize that Aelin has actually slipped the word keys to her. Maeve and her minions chain Aelin in the iron and put her in the box. Maeve releases Lorcan from the bond in disgrace as he crawls after her. Ooh, that was hard to read. That was so hard to read.
It's a Nick.
Meanwhile, Manon is relieved to see Abraxas in the distance. She hopes that Aelin can survive this predicament, even if she is destined to die for them all. Rowan arrives to see Lorcan kneeling in a pool of Aelin's blood. He asks where Aelin is with the infamous line, "Where is my wife?" And I kid you not,
Sarah.
You guys, this is not the first time I've read, talked, or even thought about this, and still goosebumps all over my arms. He and Aelin have married in secret, which breaks Lorcan's heart even more. The grumpy is melting so much, I just can't. I feel so bad for him, even though he caused all of this. Like,
it is his fault. It is.
You're angry with him, but you still feel for him. Manon tells them the truth about the lock and Elena's plan, which requires Aelin to sacrifice her own life. Elide then tells them the truth about Rowan's mate and about everything that Aelin has endured and sacrificed. Could you imagine being Rowan listening to all of this? Like, not only is he doesn't know where his wife is, he learns that she's not only his wife, that she's also his mate, and that she's destined to die. My goodness, this is a lot of information in about 10 seconds. Like,
this was a lot of information for me as the reader. I couldn't imagine being actually involved.
And I've already learned all of this. Learning it again, I just like.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, man.
It's a lot to handle. Honestly, I think my tears completely soaked the blanket that was surrounding me while I was reading this. I was a mess. It's still just like you. It gives me chills. Such good writing. And again, such good writing.
Rowan realizes that Aelin intends for Lysandra to pretend to be Aelin for the rest of her life, having children with Adian. And in this scenario, their kids would then resemble Aelin. That
was crazy.
Shook me. And honestly, in that moment, I completely understand Adian being upset about not being like cued in to that. Because he would not be allowed to parent his own children because no one would know that they're his. And that freaking sucks. But here's the biggest thing is I actually think he would have agreed to it if Aelin had asked him. He would do anything for her. But it's because she didn't ask that made him upset. And honestly, like, I get that. I really do. Like, I feel like his anger, at this point, for me, his anger became justified. Like, it bothered me originally. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I changed my mind. You were right. Like, I just think Aelin she is very good about being 3 steps ahead, but I think she could still learn a thing or two about including people and like trusting them, even though she's doing it for them, like still trusting them. Cause like she didn't know all of that stuff that Elena ended up telling her. Like she didn't know some of these things and how they would play out. And if she had included people, she could have handled things a lot differently. And I don't know, but I just think she could learn a thing or two about trusting people and including them in her plans.
Yeah.
Adian is furious with Lysandra and with Lorcan for summoning Maeve. Meanwhile, Manon reunites with the 13 and tells them about her plan to find the Krakens and urges them to fight for Aelin's cause. She also tells Dorian that she has the word keys because Aelin slipped them into her pocket. She then gives them to Dorian, as he is also of Brandon's bloodline and can wield them if necessary. Rowan mourns Aelin, taking her shirt and inhaling her scent. Lorcan stands near him, haunted by Aelin's loss and Elid's anger at him. You guys, I can't. This was so sad. I actually didn't think I was going to cry, but I am. My eyes are watering now thinking about it.
I think I was more like consumed in like that's how I process all my emotions is anger. I think I was more consumed in placing blame, and obviously the blame has to fall on Lorcan here. So I was like, do not sit there haunted. Like, you doubted Aelin and her plans and what she could do, so much so that you called Maeve to protect Elide, which, not that Elide's not worthy of protection, but like, would Maeve, like, you knew how bad she was. He knew at that point that Maeve went in to burn all of L.A. and everything else.
No, he didn't.
Was part of all that.
No, he didn't.
Oh, that was Tower of Dawn. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. No. He did not know Maeve's plan. None of the cadre knew why Maeve was sailing her armadas.
But they found, it wasn't Tower of Dawn. Is this book. But why? Who found out that Maeve was the one that burned L.A.?
Ansel's spies. Lorcan, like, Ansel's the one who... But not until like these chapters. Like, he had already summoned Maeve.
He already summoned her.
Yeah, that was
still just the lack of faith. And then I'm tied into a corner, so I'm going to call Maeve. And then, like, you caused this. And then
I know.
crawling towards her, which...
But I know. Okay, but here's the thing. I totally hear what you're saying. And I agree. Like, I am the first to place blame on many characters. But I just couldn't with this one because of how well Sarah wrote him. We understand that he couldn't help his like weird love for Maeve, and the like bond that he had with her was so gross and twisted, and he knew that, and he just like couldn't help it. So the crawling, I felt bad for him. The crawling, because like we know he loves Elide, and like he didn't want to do that, but he just couldn't help himself. And again, the summoning. We know how powerful Aelin is, and he's seen glimpses of it, but he was with Elide this whole time. He has not spent a lot of time with her, so he really actually doesn't know.
No. Who guarded Elide while Aelin's absolute, like, blast of power fire?
He had already summoned her.
No.
Oh, word hounds?
Yeah, word hounds. Before.
Aelin didn't...
Before Aelin and Elide had the
Lysandra
reunion,
came and helped him with
stop. When Aelin and Rowan they hadn't met up with Lorcan and Elide yet. That they hadn't had the reunion yet. And the word hounds, or I don't know if they're word hounds, but the things flying in the air, like crazy.
Yeah, the Ilkin.
We talked about them.
The Ilkin.
Maybe, yeah.
Yes, that's what
like hundreds of them were coming towards them. And
his
so
blast
Aelin
of
burned
power.
all of them.
Yes, but what I'm saying is Lorcan's blast of power that summoned Maeve is the same power that summoned the Ilkin. He had summoned her before she did all of that. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
That like that
all
blast that he sent out
right,
is what
checks
summoned
out.
everything.
I'm still gonna place blame because I need to.
You go for it. I'm just saying I can't.
It
is his fault, and that's the other thing is he knows it's his fault too. So that's why he's like haunted by Aelin's loss because he knows it's his fault. But then he's also upset about Elide being upset with him. But he knows he is accepting all of it because he knows he did. It's all his fault, and so that's why I'm like ultimately. I do just feel bad for him because he's not Chaol. He's not being like, well, I didn't have all the facts or I didn't know or this was another. He's like, I screwed the pooch and this sucks. Like, and I feel so bad because this is all my fault. Yeah. And if we can't empathize with a man who knows his own feelings, I don't know what we can't empathize with.
Yes.
And here's the part. This part gets me. Galen Ashriver, the crown prince of Wenlin and Aelin's cousin, arrives with his forces, as do the silent assassin. They all learn that Aelin has summoned them to fight against Erewhon.
She pulled literally every favor in the book. I loved that.
Lysandra pretends to be Aelin in order to keep the hope of winning the war alive. While Aedion and others plan to march north to Terrasen to fight with the Ash River forces and the Silent Assassins, Manon and Dorian plan to seek the Kraken witches and find a way, to wield the word keys. Rowan, Lorcan, Gavriel, and Elide then plan to search for Aelin. And that is the end of Empire of Storms. Oh my goodness.
So dramatic.
So good. Chef's kiss. 5 Michelin stars. That's the top, right? 5 stars? Pretty sure.
Well,
yeah. I learned that from Ratatouille. Because Gusteau was
Michelin
really
gives out 5 though. I think it's 3.
No, or maybe it's 4.
Maybe
because
4.
I remember at one point he dropped to 3. Gusteau's restaurant dropped to 3, and that was like.
But I don't think Ratatouille is based off of Michelin. So hold on. How many Michelin stars can you get? 3.
Oh, you were so right. Oh, right.
Well, that was a guess, so don't think too highly of me.
Well, I do. I think very highly of you because your guess was correct.
Yep. 3 means exceptional cuisine and nearly perfect. Michelin says this is worth a special journey, that everything served needs to be flawlessly executed.
Well, knowing that, I still give this book 5 Michelin stars.
5 Michelin stars. Yeah, me too. This book is top tier. It honestly is one of the best ever. All right, guys. We are done with Empire of Storms. Next week is all Tower of Dawn, and then
plus Vision
for the Tandem Fandom. I know. Plus our Vision.
Yeah,
love it. Vision Wednesday.
Thank you guys for being here. We hope you have a great rest of your week. We will see you on Monday for our next
and
hot
subscribe
goss.
and follow and leave a review. All right,
and
bye.
be our friends. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.